welcome to the hard sell, where the herp and the derp do. Anyway, last episode we looked at a dying bank, the Halifax, which is currently in a persistent vegetative state, waiting for its owners Lloyds to pull the plug, amidst the slow but accelerating end of high street banking in general. And we're still on that subject now. Not the Halifax, though. We drained that one dry. No, this time we're looking at another bank that has recently died, which in this case is actually the second time. Pretty harsh for a bank with such a positive outlook. It's the bank that likes to say yup. TSB. TSB stands, or stood, for Trustee Savings Bank, which is the sort of halfway between a fully mutual building society or credit union and your actual PLC bank. A trustee savings bank isn't floated on the stock exchange, but its customers aren't owners, as they are with building societies, and they don't have voting rights on how it's run. Instead, it's operated by a trust, hence the name, consisting of voluntary directors. They first emerged in the 19th century, when most banks were geared towards the wealthy as a means of keeping their money safe, but the proletariat was starting to have use for such things as well. By the end of World War II, there were dozens of local TSBs across the country. Put together, they were at least as big as any of the actual Big Four, which at the time were Lloyds, Barclays, National and Provincial, and Westminster. So naturally, coming together was the logical thing to do. By the mid-70s, the nation's 75 TSBs had formed a single entity, the Trustee Savings Bank, helped along the way by legislation from successive governments, freeing them of special government oversight and expanding their reach to include loans and current accounts. The initial advertising face and voice of this new company was the extremely Scottish Scotsman Gordon Jackson, a household name at the time as the hard-nosed butler Hudson in Upstairs Downstairs. He would be seen introducing the proles to the advantages of a trustee savings bank, or otherwise narrating stories of amazing innovations, like having your very own checkbook.
He opened a check account at the Trustees Savings Bank last month. Now he uses TSB checks to pay for most things. His local savings bank showed him how he could run his account free. He makes a careful note of how much he's spending, so he always knows where he stands. He wouldn't be without a checkbook now, although there are still some things he doesn't write a check for. Ask your local TSB branch for details of the TSB check service.
By the end of the decade, Jackson moved on, and the bank gained a whole new slogan, "The Bank for Me," and a peppier image, with simplistic cartoon adverts depicting, well, it barely qualifies jokes, but there's no word for that. Or else just basic and not particularly interesting information, vaguely jollified by the method. The television advertising also went down the comedy route.
Well, that is the house settled. Now I will need a bank.
Try the TSB. Keep enough cash in your account and get free checks.
Splendid. Have them build me one next door.
The TSB? It's the bank for me.
Yes, well, this is visibly a product of the oil crisis 70s, when OPEC was a household word, and racial sensitivity was optional. In 1982, however, they hit upon the slogan that they'd never be able to shake for the rest of their existence. And not just a slogan, but an identity, which is something that they needed, to be honest, as a relative newbie with a name that was just letters and a logo that was just letters in circles. 3 of the Big Four had animals to lean on, and the other had a much more interesting abstract shape than they did. TSB might well have faded away without the added personality factor this new slogan gave them. Say it with me. The bank that likes to say yes. Originally launched with a full-on song, because that was still acceptable in 1982.
TSB, the bank that likes to say yes.
MPG, TSB. Semi-D, TSB.
TSB.
TSB. TSB.
TSB.
From 123 to OAP, from Form 5B to new trainee, all TSB. VIPs.
TSB, the bank that likes to say yes.
Not exactly a classic of old school rap, but better than John Aldridge. The saying yes thing is really subordinate to the bank's name and the melody and rhythm behind it at this point. But that melody and rhythm were earwormy enough that they survived for a good few years and a change in aesthetics, as someone in the production company brought a Quantel paint box, and it all went faintly spacey and futuristic for a bit.
TSB, the bank that likes to say yes.
Undergrad. Employee. Bank for free. At TSB. Speed Bank card, your check card. There's no charge at TSB. Saving pounds on top sounds. These are free at TSB.
TSB,
And later, when you want a home, we're your bank to fix the loan.
TSB, the bank that likes to say yes.
There were other methods as well, of course, such as when TSB launched their own credit card, the Barclaycard rivaling Trust Card. Admittedly, they initially used much the same sort of advertising, by which I mean a lame song.
Trust card comes in handy. Trust card comes in handy.
Paying with Trust Card is much safer than paying with cash. Whenever you see the Visa sign, your card will be warmly welcomed.
Trust card comes in handy.
Trust Card. Yes, it's the card you can trust. For further information, call in at any TSB branch.
But before long they branched out, downplaying the TSB name and detaching itself entirely from the slogan and aesthetic. Presumably it wasn't clear enough that despite the TSB logo, this, like Barclaycard, was a credit card that anyone could sign up for, wherever they banked. Also, as the mid-80s loomed, money, and its pursuit as an end in itself, were becoming downright chic. Other banks were picking up sophisticated, vaguely futuristic images. Even TSB themselves had that 3D light show of a logo shop now. So the Trust Card went the same way, with the cold blue lighting and fetishization of the physical object in a fashion not dissimilar to the title sequence from Tim Burton's Batman.
There is a credit card that is welcomed in over 200,000 shops, garages, hotels, restaurants, railway stations and banks in this country, and over 4 million worldwide. A card that is used thousands of times, every hour, every day of every week, making it more widely accepted than any charge card in the world. A card that is backed by one of Britain's leading personal banking groups. That card is Trust Card. No matter who you bank with, Trust Card. It's all you need.
Directed, incidentally, by Richard Longcrane. It's lucky this came out in 1984 in a way, because there is a certain resonance with a different campaign from several years later.
There is now a danger that has become a threat to us all.
As it turned out, the Trust Card was not a danger or a threat to Barclaycard in the end, although it kept itself afloat all right, and even outlived the original TSB. Speaking of which, let's go back to the bank itself. And in 1986, someone in the government apparently spotted a company being run for the benefit of its community, rather than for pure profit, at least in theory. That, of course, was considered morally indefensible, and so TSB was finally floated on the stock market, thus ending any semblance of it being an actual trustee savings bank, and effectively reducing the name to just 3 letters, which didn't mean anything. In fact, technically, and in the logo, it was now called TSB Bank, which would be redundant if the B still stood for bank, but it didn't. And of course, this sell-off necessitated one of those share offer adverts that feel peculiarly 80s.
It isn't every day you get a chance to buy a bank. From September the 15th, prospectuses for the TSB share offer will be available to everyone. The offer's then open for only 10 days, from September the 15th until 10 a.m. on September the 24th. You've still got time to phone 0272 300 300 to get more information and reserve a prospectus. Or call in at any TSB branch. The TSB. Don't leave it too late to say yes.
Know how saying yes is TSB's identity now. Meanwhile, the bowler hats, like bank managers wear, you see, are doing the job of Sid in the gas sell-off adverts, making this essentially rich man's parlour game seem like something to benefit ordinary proles. The freshly privatised TSB group quickly moved on with the advertising, finally dropping the song and the kitsch in favour of a more sophisticated, not to mention direct, take on being the bank that likes to say yes.
No. No. No.
No? Did you get to see the bank today?
Yeah. No.
Will they give us the loan?
Yes.
What, the whole amount?
No. Yes. No.
So we get the new kitchen then?
No.
Yes. Will they let us repay over 5 years?
Yes. No.
Well, they were very good with the mortgage, weren't they?
No. Yes.
TSB, the bank that likes to say
yes.
I didn't say it particularly made sense, or was funny, but the age of the booster song was very much done. Sophisticated computer-assisted animations and bubbling synth noise-making was in. And of course, now that they were floated on the stock exchange, there had to be other adverts aimed specifically at the Gordon Geckos of the world, rather than the bumbling, farting ordinaries who wandered into their high street banks demanding money. Adverts about how strong and powerful a company they were, rather than how great their services might have been. Like this extremely simplified history read by John Hurt.
For over a century, TSB was happy looking after people's savings. But in 1965, we extended our services. Things looked up. We gave our customers current accounts, then personal loans. Next, we introduced the trust card. Today, we lend money to industry and commerce. We offer a wide range of investment and insurance schemes and mortgages to thousands of home buyers. Yes, when it comes to improving our service, the sky is the limit. TSB, the fastest moving bank in Britain.
By the turn of the 90s, there was some evidence of flailing, image-wise, as the original CGI giant Yes was replaced midstream with the punning TSB, which didn't really take.
What are you going to do when you retire?
A bit of singing.
I'm going to buy a bright red Porsche.
A bit of acting. Write some poetry. A bit of painting. Save the world, I think.
Whatever you plan to do when you retire, ask at any TSB branch about a personal pension plan.
Peace and financial stability. That's all I want out of retirement.
Whatever you plan, the answer's TSB.
The banks seem to have grown itchy with regard to the bank that likes to say yes. Maybe by 1990 it was starting to seem lame, even childish, in the increasingly muscular world of high finance. Unfortunately, it was TSB's whole identity by now, embedded in the public consciousness more or less beyond retrieval. Hence TSB, which referenced it without repeating the whole phrase out loud.
J.J. Hackenbush is an immensely wealthy man.
I'm J.J. Hackenbush, an immensely wealthy man. I can only give you 1 minute of my time. Time is money.
We had to agree.
I want someone who can sort out unit trust investment spec, verticals, pick up preferences, organise ordering, consider which you went, where buyout, sellers, mergers,
We said, yes, we could arrange investments. We said, yes, we could plan out a business loan. And said yes to arranging a pension. Currently, we manage billions of pounds of investments, provide pensions to thousands, and have hundreds of millions of pounds on loan to business. If you want to cope with the fast world of finance, the answer's TSB.
But for whatever reason, TSB didn't really punch through, or whatever the hateful term is. Besides, there was a recession by now. People wanted reassurance. So TSB had the brilliant idea of taking their famous slogan and turning it around. Sure, they were the bank that liked to say yes. It was a given that they were going to say yes since they love it so much. Now, it was all about the customers again. They want you to say yes.
With some high-interest accounts, you lose interest on withdrawal unless you give 90 days' notice. But we've made a change, because we don't want to lose you. TSB. We want you to say yes.
There's a lot to like about this. The soothing voice of Paul McGann, for instance, who really does have one of the great speaking voices. And I do like the stone effect and Clarendonish serif lettering matching the logo at the end. That's what banks should look like. Serious and stately. Stop trying to be my friend. We all know you people are bastards. Here, the aesthetic is a clear and obvious attempt on TSB's part to look classy and trustworthy, and, frankly, old, which of course they weren't. All that is good. It's just a shame the advert takes forever to demonstrate where the hell it's going, with its 2 showgirls and the inexplicable number boards popping about for a full 10 seconds, which is a long time in an advert, especially when it's not making sense, or, more crucially, at all clear what it is it's advertising. The classy look didn't last, however, as within 2 years they'd moved on to a gaudy blue and gold look, with John Gordon Sinclair on voiceover. Less smooth than McGann, but perhaps more relatable. I'm just saying, McGann's a Time Lord, and Sinclair was described by Roger Ebert as an immensely likeable stork.
It's a family affair.
We're saving for her future.
We've put money aside to feel secure.
I pay tax on my salary. I'm not paying it on my savings. What?
No! Like everyone else, we didn't want the taxman to get his hands on our savings.
So we put them into TSB where the taxman can't get at them.
Yes!
The new tax-free savings plan from TSB. We want you to say yes.
Anyway, it may not have been as stately and classical a look, but it wasn't hideous. It was certainly a more dynamic personality, arguably than the TSB had had for years, if ever. And there was a reason for that, as the TSB spent the rest of the early to mid-90s actively chasing the under-30s in general, the under-25s in particular, and the under-20s especially. They bribed the latter with movie tickets, repeatedly.
Do you like films?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you between 16 and 20?
Yes, sir! Sir!
Would you like 4 free MGM and Canon cinema tickets?
Yes, of course.
Yes. Yes.
Open a TSB interest check account and they're yours.
Excellent!
What do you say?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
TSB. We want you to say
Yes.
I don't know how well that worked, but I do remember at this time that there was a brief period when TSB felt like the movie-related bank in a weird sort of way.
I got 10 £2 cinema vouchers when I opened an interest check account at TSB.
Shh! Free cinema vouchers for 16 to 20-year-olds from TSB. We want you to say
Yes!
They even doubled down by signing up with Britain's various cinema chains to sponsor the endless trailers, with a rather splendid sting from the Fire and Skill era. I know I haven't done sponsor stings for a while, by the way. I'm getting to it. There's a queue. But back in the main campaign, everything remains brightly coloured and smiley. They targeted young families, people about to step onto the property ladder. And they just generally put fresh faces and bright lights and fashionable camera work all over the place.
With TSB's new savings plan, I had a choice. Start one with a lump sum or regular monthly payments. I'm doing a combination of the two. Whichever way, it's tax-free. So no matter how hard they try, the taxmen just can't get their hands on my savings. Yes!
Express yourself. The new tax-free savings plan from TSB.
Express yourself.
We want you to say yes.
And that was the last aesthetic for TSB as we had known them, because in 1995 they merged with Lloyds Bank to form Lloyds TSB. It took a while for the new company to fully integrate and therefore have the right to use the merged name, so for a couple of years they continued advertising as themselves, as if nothing had happened. Then, in 1998, they ominously started advertising in tandem, using their joint sponsorship of the then Five Nations rugby tournament as a jumping-off point.
When you work as a team, you can achieve so much more. At Lloyds and TSB, we're giving our 15 million customers more help from more people in more branches than any other bank. Lloyds and TSB, working together to bring you more.
Finally, the process was complete, and we got some sentimental, supposedly uplifting slice of life business to celebrate.
Lloyds TSB has come together. How can we help you live your life?
What can we do to make it happen? To make it happen. What can we do to make it right? To make it right. What can we do to make you feel good? To make you feel good. How can we help you live your life? How can we help you live your life?
We're here to help make things happen for you. Lloyds TSB. Your life, your bank.
Note how little was actually said of substance. Note also the rewritten Cause song, which they seem to have convinced the actual Cause to sing. The merger was structured as a reverse takeover by TSB, in that it was the old Lloyds Bank plc that was dissolved and all its assets moved to the TSB one, which then became Lloyds TSB plc. But just a glance at the logo should clue you in as to the reality, which is that Lloyds, the bigger, older and more iconic of the two, basically trampled TSB under hoof. Within a year it was just 3 extraneous letters in the company name that no one really remembered what they meant. The trust card lived on for a bit, but before long even it was essentially in name only. It was an ignominious ending. TSB were dead without actually falling down. A cadaver riding a black horse that couldn't quite shake it. Until 2009, that is. That year, Lloyds TSB bought HBOS. You know, the Halifax Bank of Scotland group? That's the connection between the two episodes. Thanks. Anyway, skipping over the financial crisis and the bailout and everything, the acquisition made what was now called the Lloyds Banking Group far too big for its own good. Especially after the bailout saw the government temporarily take 43% ownership. To comply with EU rules, because we were still in it back then, Lloyds agreed to spin off a big chunk of their businesses, over 600 branches, as a new independent company. And hey, they already had a brand name for it, Gathering Dust by the Radiator. Everything else would revert to the Lloyds Bank name. After a bit more manoeuvring and a failed bid from the Co-op Bank to buy their branches in Scotland, in 2013 TSB were back, with a new logo adapted from the old one, and a new ethos. The bank that likes to say yes was locked away in the past, which may have been a strategic error, given that it was a well-remembered slogan right there without even trying. But you can't argue with the wisdom of starting from scratch. The new TSB was local banking for Britain, and the adverts were almost aggressively cute.
TSB isn't like other big banks. That's because every penny TSB customers deposit stays right here in Britain, supporting mortgages or loans for other TSB customers. When those people spend money in their local economy, it makes more work for the people who live there. The more work those people get, the more they and their local community thrive. And communities thriving right across Britain has to be a good thing for all of us, hasn't it?
They were made by AKA Studio, directed by Peter Dodd. And if you know who Sylvain Chomet is, it won't surprise you to learn that Dodd worked closely with him on The Illusionist.
Does your bank account leave you feeling a little underwhelmed? TSB's Plus account is different from other current accounts. It offers 5% interest on balances up to £2,000, plus 5% cash back on your first £100 of contactless payments every month. Plus, you can get 5% interest on a monthly saver account. Isn't it time you switched to the bank account with added plusness?
Try not to worry too much about that first Balloon Man's design. I'm sure it means nothing. Anyway, everyone in the adverts looks like that. Plus we could blame Sylvain Chomet. Inevitably, TSB was bought out almost immediately by the first opportunist who came along, who turned out to be Banco Sabadell, the Spanish bank that isn't Santander. They had all kinds of big plans for the venerable old brand, all of which came to nothing when a couple of years later they switched the bank over to their computer system. It turned out not to have the capacity, which you think was something they'd have checked beforehand, but apparently not. The result was that basically the entire bank threw up in its own mouth.
TSB has taken down its mobile app and online banking service following a botched IT upgrade and apparent data breach. Well, the announcement was made by the company's chief executive, Paul Pester, as part of a personal apology following days of disruption that has left account holders in the dark over their finances.
Millions were rendered unable to use internet or phone banking, you know, the way the majority of people do it, for over a week. Many reported logging in only to be faced with someone else's account details. There's no record of anyone doing anything mischievous with them, fortunately. When business and mortgage accounts continue to get SQL errors instead of the payments to which they were entitled after 4 weeks, TSB finally collapsed sobbing on the shoulders of IBM, who naturally charged them a premium to fix everything. This pretty much destroyed TSB's image, although astonishingly they did manage to return to profit a year later, just in time for another IT glitch. Customers understandably deserted the hapless flailing brand, and branches started to vanish. By 2022 they were down to 220. The same year they were fined over £48.5 million for being colossal dumbasses. TSB tried to stumble on. They were last seen advertising like this.
Hey! Hope you don't mind, but my mate Ty decided to tag along.
Oi, oi. Boom! Elephant in the room. You know, Stevie here nearly cancelled. Stressing out about his spending. But then he spoke to TSB, and little old me didn't seem so scary. Kung!
Pow!
Talk to us via video call 7 days a week.
To be fair, it's the kind of advertising you'd expect from a company who essentially just suffered several successive blows to the head. Although more distracting than the pink puppet elephant is the pattern on the wall behind. I mean, I suppose that could happen when you're doing that crisscross wickerwork effect, but surely you should try and make sure that it doesn't. And if with the best will in the world it does, then start over. And if you're a pub owner and they turn this in anyway, not accept it. And if you're a production company making this advert, shoot somewhere else. There's a whole chain of guilt here that I don't want to think about. Unfortunately, 5 years just isn't long enough. People, unsurprisingly, still remembered. That meaningless slogan, "Life Made More," was not a cure for the brand's newly acquired toxicity. Instead, it was the end of the road. Banco Sabadell gave up earlier this year and sold the damn thing, now down to just 175 branches. To Santander, who immediately announced they weren't going to bother keeping the name around. It'll take a year a bit more to fully integrate, but once they have, TSB dies for the second and probably the last time. And now I have to come up with a conclusion. Well, there's a story of a company originally created to serve the community being dragged down, privatized, and turned into a regular profit-driven capitalist enterprise, which ultimately kills it. We've all heard that before. And there's the can't go home again factor of TSB making its big comeback, but not being the same thing, and ultimately lasting barely more than a decade. If only they bit the bullet and brought back the bank that likes to say yes motif. Then again, that probably would have made it even worse when the computer crisis happened. I mean, there are already plenty of memes.
TSB, the bank that likes to say.
Piezas nada.
For instance, but mostly from the older millennials like myself, and people older still. People who remembered the original TSB, basically. Imagine if the Zoomers had been aware of the old slogan at that time. In some ways, they got off lightly. Well, not really, because it ultimately killed them. But then a bank that bad with computers was gonna die, and fairly swiftly, in this day and age. Banks are, or probably will be, the first high street genre, if you like, to finally die off completely. Even newsagents aren't completely obsolete yet, or even the post office. There are still tangible things people might want to buy at a newsagent. And there'll probably always be a need to send bulky objects from place to place, and therefore some kind of hub at which to do it, even if it's only a kiosk managed by a robot. Money, on the other hand, is entirely abstract. It doesn't exist at all, really. And that's even more true now that the coins and paper that we use to represent it are starting to become extinct themselves. Which means that in a fully computerized age, or even a partly computerized one like this, there's increasingly no particular reason to use big giant buildings to keep it in. And of course, once scarcity, which is becoming increasingly artificial, is fully conquered altogether, we can just abolish money completely. Unless we all kill ourselves over it first. This has been a Bob the Fish production, one of dozens you can watch right now for free on bobthefish.org.uk. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell, and join us on patreon.com/Applemask. to support further productions and gain fabulous exclusive content, like my ongoing history of the BBC, your day's viewing on a random day in history, even a few exclusive mini video essays. Plus the satisfaction of knowing that thanks to you, I get to eat regular meals. popthefish.org.uk. We care because you do.